if I tell you that you do this one thing and God will be with you in your preparation for RBI Grade B, तो आप वो चीज़ करेंगे ना? सर वो चीज़ क्या है? That one thing is learning from previous year papers. They are like God's hand on your head कि बेटा इसको समझ लो, you will get the entire direction. So in this video, I would be discussing with you key learnings from the recently held RBI Grade B 2022 FM paper. We will come out with ESI analysis separately. In this video, it's all about FM. And before I start with this analysis, these learnings, I would request you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and subscribe to our Telegram channel also, where we keep sharing free content, the link for which is given in the description of this video. So we all know that RBI Grade B FM paper is basically consisting of objective part and subjective part. Each is worth 50 marks. So first I would be starting up with objective analysis and then I'll move on to the subjective paper analysis. Now if I talk about the objective paper, इस बार थोड़ा सा एक I would say there was a surprise because normally finance used to have higher weightage, somewhere around 28 to 30, and management used to be around 20, 22. But this year the pattern reversed. The total number of questions from finance were 12, worth 19 marks, whereas from management there were 18 questions worth 31 marks. So this is a complete reversal from the trend that was being observed in the last 3 to 4 years. But I think that was nothing which was kind of a complete shocker which cannot be absorbed. So people were able to handle it. ठीक है, but ये एक trend reversal हुआ है. So हम हमेशा जानते हैं the paper is full of always full of unexpected things, और इस साल उन्होंने ये चीज़ एक unexpected की है. Now let's first analyze the objective management part and then we will analyze the objective finance part. Now in the objective, that is the management part, as I told you, the total marks in the paper of distributed to management were 31. Out of that, 5 questions were 1 marker worth 5 marks and 13 questions were 2 marker, that is worth 26 marks. तो जो आपके 2 markers आते हैं वो 20 आते हैं, उसमें से 13 were from management. Such a high weightage was being given to management. ठीक है, और static current में भी तो all know that management is static and that's why it is very very scoring. So all the questions were from static part. There was no current angle to any of the questions. ठीक है, तो 1 marker और 2 marker में we can say that 2 markers are more in management, that is 13 questions. Now if I talk about the syllabus wise distribution of marks, I would say it was a pretty balanced paper. I think they tried to put questions from almost every chapter. The highest number of questions or highest marks were from corporate governance, 8 marks. Here 4 questions on CSR were asked. Then fundamentals of organization behavior, 6 marks. Motivation, 6 marks. Communication, which usually people tend to ignore, was worth 7 marks. Ethics, personality and perception, organizational change and journal management, each worth 1 mark. Now why I say that this is pretty good distribution, because if you see the syllabus, these are the topics: motivation, leadership, communication. Now out of these topics, I think they put question from every topic except from conflict there was no question. Then from ethics there was a question, organizational change there was a question, personality and perception there was a question, emotional intelligence. So only I think these are the 2 chapters, emotional intelligence and conflict, from which there were no questions. Otherwise you can see that they tried to put question from every chapter. That's why I think, in my view, it was a pretty balanced paper. That is the maximum they could have done. Now the key takeaways that could be taken from management is, first is well diversified paper, so never try to leave some chapters. I know many people start late, but that's a wrong strategy. Cover everything because management is very scoring. Never ever leave any chapter. That is what I was talking in the first point. बहुत लोग communication को थोड़ा हल्के में लेते हैं. Normally it has not been given huge weightage in the past 3-4 years. Last year आए थे, but इस साल भी repeat होंगे ये expected नहीं था. Then do not try to cram. Now they are setting application based questions, right? There was a case study on Ram working in some office and leaving his job, joining some another job, that kind of thing. So that was a purely application based question that could be done only if you have good understanding of concepts. So cramming नहीं चलेगी, understanding बहुत important है, और do practice paragraph based questions. This is very very important because paragraph questions में again understanding होगी, application आप learn करेंगे, and you will be comfortable with those type of questions even before the exam. तो ये 3-4 learnings हैं. Otherwise I think management was scoring. कॉर्पोरेट गवर्नेंस में अगर कोई CSR के 4 क्वेश्चन करा है तो मैनेजमेंट वाज वेरी स्कोरिंग फॉर दैट पर्सन. नाउ लेट अस मूव ऑन टू द फाइनेंस, व्हिच आई टोल्ड यू अर्लियर हैड 12 क्वेश्चंस वर्थ 19 मार्क्स. इन फाइनेंस 5 क्वेश्चंस वर 1 marker and 7 questions were 2 markers worth 14 marks. So the total weightage of management is 19, and out of this 19 the current had वेटेज ऑफ 5 मार्क्स. तो जितने भी ये सारे 1 मार्कर थे ये सारे करंट से पूछे थे और सारे 2 मार्कर्स स्टैटिक से पूछे थे. दैट्स व्हाई यू कैन सी दिस काइंड ऑफ 1:1 मैपिंग. सो 5 मार्क्स वर्थ ऑफ करंट and 14 marks worth of static. Current weightage earlier used to be around 8 to 10 marks, but I think they decreased it somehow this year. But that's not much of a deviation. It can happen. Sometimes even it can reach a figure of 13 or 14. Right. और अगर मैं करंट की बात करूं फाइनेंस में, देयर वर 5 क्वेश्चंस, 1 मार्कर इन द फाइनेंस करंट पोर्शन, एंड all of them or majority of them were from RBI notifications. We have again and again been saying that please do RBI notifications, and I'm very pleased to tell you कि जितने भी RBI notifications में से questions आए थे, we covered all of them in the RBI marathon sessions or your RBI finance current affairs sessions that we are putting on YouTube. So current affairs weightage was less and most of the questions were related to RBI notifications in the current part. If I talk about the static part, then paper was not well diversified, as in only questions were asked from these 2 chapters, banking and financial system, where questions were asked related to outsourcing, and primary and secondary markets, debt markets, where 4 questions were asked related to commercial paper. Apart from this, no question was asked from other static chapters, like the most important ones being risk management, derivatives, bonds, options. उसमें से कुछ भी नहीं पूछा है because anyways the weightage was less, तो questions पहले ही कम आए और वो भी इन्हीं 2 chapters में से आए. Key learnings from finance objective can be, first is numerical 0 weightage again. So numerical weightage has been decreasing continuously, and इस साल 0 है, पिछले साल भी 0 थी. So I think it's high point that people should not spend too much time on numericals. छोड़ भी सकते हैं अगर time कम है. Budget 0 weightage again. I have seen that if the exam is being held, that is phase 2 is being held very close to the budget, then only there are questions from union budget, otherwise there are no questions. Then RBI concentrated only some key chapters like debt markets and banking and financial system, as I told you earlier. So they did not opted for diversification of topics, which should be the case because there are many other topics like derivatives, bonds, risk management, which are very very important, but I am not sure why didn't they ask anything from that. और current affairs weightage less था जैसे मैंने आपको बताया, but this can reverse in future. And for current affairs, RBI notifications had been important, they were important this year, and they will be important in the future also. Now coming on to the subjective part, which is again worth 50 marks. Subjective paper mein, if you see, these were the 10 marker questions, and these what is long term repo operation, which was kind of based upon current affairs because LTRO came into picture during COVID. Then India's response to 2008 global financial crisis and managers' role in encouraging ethical behavior in the organization. Now if you see these 10 markers, they were pretty direct. They were almost like directly from the syllabus tags itself. Apart from the first question, which I can't say is from the syllabus tag, but anyways, this was covered in RBI annual report, we covered it also. Now if you see the second question, India's response to 2008 global financial crisis, now this is directly from the syllabus tag. Impact of global financial crisis and India's response to it. So this was a pretty direct question, and it was covered in your course also, changes in monetary policy and liquidity. That is the steps taken by RBI as part of India's response and steps taken by government as part of India's response. So that has been very well elaborated here. Then the next question, managers' role in encouraging ethical behavior in the organization. Now this is again directly from your syllabus tag. If you see this syllabus tag, role of board of directors and best practices in the ethics program, using this information, you could have easily written जो board of directors का role है, almost on the same lines you could have tweaked that this is the role of manager in encouraging ethical practices in the organization. So this is also directly from the syllabus tag, and this was covered in fact even your model question and answers, that no, discuss the best practices to develop ethical program in an organization, or discuss how the board of directors of the company can set the tone for ethical culture in the organization. So if you would have read these two model question and answers, you could have easily attempted it. Now coming on to the 15 markers, normally it's a perception that 15 markers would be really difficult, but I think they were pretty direct. What makes them easy is that this year that they were again, two of the 15 markers were from the management and only one from finance. Identify the barriers to impersonal and interpersonal communication and how a manager can reduce it. Again, this was pretty direct. Barriers to communication is given in your syllabus, so this was again from a syllabus tag and covered in your model question and answers pretty well. What are the barriers to communication, right? And how to make communication effective, that how do you handle barriers to communication. This was all discussed. I think this was a cakewalk to write this answer, right? Because this was worth 15 marks and yet easy. Then people are resistant to change. Describe the measures to eradicate it. Again, very simple, directly from a kind of change topic. Whenever you read change, resistance to change is something very, very important. In fact, a direct model question and answer is also given in your course. Now, measures to overcome resistance to change in an organization. And then blockchain disrupt banking. This is related to fintech, not directly related to your syllabus tag, because in the syllabus it's only written fintech. But blockchain and cryptocurrency, they are very much part of fintech. And now we have given in your course like how blockchain is being used in the forex sector, in the easy verification of identities in everyday transactions, right? To process payments, how blockchain can help, how blockchain can power secure investment. So all that was discussed here. Financial record keeping, how blockchain can help. So I think if you would have read this, you would have easily attempted this. Now, I think overall, even the subjective part was not tough at all. At the max, you can say moderate, but I would say somewhere between easy to moderate. If you would have prepared seriously, you would have now read each of the syllabus tag properly. Doesn't matter from anywhere. You could have attempted these questions. And this is the breakup. If you see 15 marker, 2 were from management and 1 was from finance. Now this is also a reversal. Last year in the 15 markers, 2 were from finance and 1 from management. But this year 2 from management, which made even subjective easy. Then 10 marker, 1 was from management and 2 were from finance. And out of this 2 from finance in the 10 marker, 1 LTRO was from kind of, you can say, based upon current affairs, right? So this is syllabus wise distribution. If you talk about finance, fintech, we always knew fintech is important. Global financial crisis, we have always been telling you global financial crisis is important. And 1 was on LTRO, which we have designated as current affairs. In management, ethics was always important. Communication, maybe it was a surprise. Communication may say, I was expecting that they won't ask anything, but they did ask. Then organizational change, this is also, I mean, this was important and they did ask it from it, right? So again, I think this is the maximum they could have done. Obviously, they could not have put one subjective question from each of the topics, because anyways, there were only 6 questions to be put, right? So from subjective, what I can say is that questions were more or less on unexpected lines. बहुत tough नहीं थे या कुछ बहुत ही unexpected नहीं था. Management ko they gave more weightage in subjective also, so I think that was intentional. Both in subjective and objective, they gave more weightage to management, but this is not something permanent. It can reverse in future, right? Because historically finance has been dominating the FM paper, and the learning is that follow the syllabus tags very properly, because out of 6, I think every time 3 or 4 questions are directly based upon syllabus tag. So you already know that what would be the question that they would be asking you in the exam. It's all about following the syllabus tags, preparing for them properly, as in terms of subjective answers, and you will be always able to write good answers. Right, guys? So I have a homework for you right now. If you would have listened to this video carefully, then you should let me know by commenting below this video. What is the importance of numerical in the FM paper right now as per the recent trend? What is the importance? कितने मार्क का आता है? And what is the most important part in current affairs of finance? If I ask you to read only one thing in the current affairs of finance, what would be that thing, that one thing that you would read in the current affairs of finance? So this is a homework for you. If you would have listened to this video, you would be able to answer this very easily. So do let me know your answers by commenting below this video. I will be waiting for your answers to check how much you are able to understand, how much you are able to learn from the analysis of previous year papers. Have a nice day. Wish you best of luck.